Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are beginning with the lecture number 3 pertaining to Greek mythology, BS English. The lecture is divided into two parts. First part is concerning the introduction to the goddess Aphrodite, and the second part is concerned with the very part of our syllabus, hymn to Aphrodite. So the whole lecture is about the hymn to Aphrodite. So in the first part we are going to have introduction about the goddess Aphrodite according to Greek beliefs and Greek literature. So now we start with the part 1 of lecture 3 pertaining to Greek mythology. Aphrodite introduction. Aphrodite is a goddess associated with love, beauty, pleasure and procreation, syncretized with Roman goddess Venus. So first thing, when the name Aphrodite comes to your mind, so you should, the words like love, pleasure, lust, beauty, these things should come into your mind. Aphrodite goddess, it is a goddess associated with love, beauty, pleasure, procreation, syncretized with Roman goddess Venus. Rome also worshipped many gods, planets, they worshipped the planets, also they worshipped the planet Venus. So the Venus is a female in Roman mythology, and it can be compared with Venus with regard to Roman literature. Major symbols used for Aphrodite: myrtles, these are kind of flowers, roses, doves, sparrows, swans. These all things symbolize Aphrodite in the sense of Greek thinking, Greek ideology. Main cult is where she was worshipped mostly, the place where she was worshipped mostly. So worship places were at Cytherea, Cyprus, Corinth, Athens. Here were the worship places for the goddess Aphrodite. Main festival of the time was, main festival name was Aphrodisia. That was celebrated in midsummer in Cyprus. So these are some of the very starting initial details about goddess Aphrodite. When the word Aphrodite comes to your mind, these things should come into your mind. Now we consider mythology. What was the belief of Greek people about Aphrodite? What they did believe? What were the mythology? What is the state of what is the position of this goddess within the mythology of Greek literature? According to Greek mythology, Aphrodite, born near Paphos, this is the name of place, chief center of worship on Cyprus. So Cyprus is an island on which there is a place Paphos, which was a chief center of worship in olden times. So that's why she is also called Cyprian goddess. Cyprian goddess. The sanctuary of Aphrodite, Paphia, making her birthplace. A sanctuary was made after many years, and it was dedicated to Aphrodite, goddess Aphrodite, and people worshipped the lady there. Hesiod, important classic literary writer of the olden Greek period, his book is Theogony. In his book Theogony, he recounts, he describes that how Aphrodite came into being. According to Greek mythology, when the god Cronus, son of Gaia, Mother Earth, and Uranus, sky, Cronus castrated. He cut the genital of his father, and threw those genitals behind him in the sea. For many days, those genitals remained floating over the sea, and after a period of time, the foam beginning to emerge from those genitals, that is known as foam in English, and the word is aphor. Aphor is a word that is used for foam. Aphor is a Greek word. So sea foam are produced, and that sea foam gave birth to Aphrodite. According to Greek mythology, Aphrodite's creation took in such a way. It is said that she did not saw any childhood, because from the very beginning she was adult. She was created as adult. Other thing is that Aphrodite is portrayed as nubile, infinitely desired adult, having no childhood, often depicted nude. So it is in the very structure, very essence of the body, that Aphrodite must be lascivious, must be lovely, and must be invoker of lust. As here I have written the word desired adult, infinitely desired adult, extremely passionate lady, sexual, beautiful, having no childhood, often depicted nude. Often in the Greek mythology, in this structure that are dedicated to Aphrodite are made, mostly they are nude. Blind singer Demodocus described her wife of Hephaestus and committed adultery with Ares during Trojan War. Now there are different myths about his relationship with different sort of persons, gods and also mortals. And Demodocus, it was a blind singer who says that she was wife of Hephaestus, god of blacksmiths, god of forge. But Aphrodite was unfaithful to her husband, and she committed adultery with another god, Ares. Ares means god of war. So in the Trojan in the Iliad we see that she is committing adultery with Ares. Along with Athena, and according to one, there is another account that once she was committed adultery, sun god, whose name is Helios, he saw them doing this act, and they were caught on the spot, Ares and Aphrodite, and he warned them that they should not do this act again. And in the bedchamber of Aphrodite, where she was having a sexual act with Ares, he put a golden net there. He erected a golden net there. Next time, when they were committing adultery, Ares and Aphrodite, when they were committing adultery on the same bed, they were caught in the net, and then the Helios and called to other gods to look at them, and they all ridiculed over them, and Aphrodite was very shameful, and Ares. So there are different sorts of myths about Aphrodite. Along with Athena, it is another goddess. Hera is also another Olympian god. Aphrodite was one of the goddesses whose feud resulted in beginning of Trojan War. Iliad, that is a story of Troy, war of Troy with the other states of Greece. There Athena and Hera plays very important part. Also there is one major role of this goddess in this part of the story. She plays a major role. Now it is the mythology what is renowned, what is famous about Aphrodite. Students, now we are starting with the part 2 of lecture 3 pertaining to Greek mythology, BS English. Hymn to Aphrodite. Introduction. Hymn to Aphrodite celebrates the power of love goddess. So as I have mentioned you earlier, that Aphrodite is a goddess whose name is concerned with love, beauty, lust, procreation, etc. Formula and thematic sequence like Iliad. Hymn to Aphrodite follows the same formula and same sequence as we can see in the epic poem like Iliad by Homer. Primarily it was an oral composition. It was orally composed, then many centuries later it was written in the hymn form. Traditional form of praise poetry, epiphany of goddess, and etiology of her powers. What we will see in this poem, tradition of praise poetry, how the tradition of praise poetry was followed in Homeric, in the age of Homer, or by the ancient Greek people. Epiphany of goddess, how goddess makes epiphanies to different person, different gods. Epiphany is a word that, in briefly I would say that it is sudden realization of something, some event, sudden realization, sudden knowledge about some fact. Etiology of her powers. In this hymn, we will see how he makes use of her powers in order to seduce a mortal man. Reproach. Background. Now we come to the background of hymn to Aphrodite. Aphrodite was the goddess of beauty, love, lust, procreation, and all these kind of noble emotions within human beings. And she was able to produce in certain gods the like emotions, and she has corrupted the life of many gods by using her powers. And the goddess, the relationship between gods and mortals was made. For example, God mating with a female, a woman, that she was exploiting her powers in order to do such kind of acts. So suddenly Zeus realized this thing, and he reversed his power. He reverted her powers upon herself. Zeus aroused sexual passion within her, and she had never sexual relationship with any mortal in her life. But it happened. Her powers of visual and verbal allure can be seen in this hymn. Summary, we will discuss lines from line 1 to 6. Now we come to the summary of the hymn to Aphrodite. Line 1 to 6 tells us about the universal power of Aphrodite goddess. Line 7 to 33 describe Athena, Artemis, and Hestia, other goddesses that cannot be conquered by love, and they cannot never be conquered by love. They are not adulterous goddesses that are hymned and contrasted with Aphrodite. In these lines, their traits, their characteristics are defined and described, and also a comparison is given between this goddess and other goddesses. Line 33 to 44 tells her ability to conquer Zeus. She is so passionate, she is so replete with this sexual passion that she is able to seduce even his father-like god Zeus. Now what happens? Line 44 to 52 tells us about that Zeus turns the tables by reverting the power of her seduction over herself, and she seduces a mortal man. So the main action now starts from line 50 through 53 to onwards. Anchises, that is a shepherd that lives in a mountain on Ada, falls in love immediately. He falls in love immediately when he sees the goddess. When goddess sees Anchises, a shepherd who was very beautiful and charming shepherd, she falls immediately in love with her, and she retires in Paphos. She go to Cyprus, and then she takes bath and makes toilet ceremonies and perfume and anoints herself with perfumed oils, and in this way she becomes very beautiful. And when all the toilet ceremonies are done, then in line 64 to 91 she leaves Paphos and crosses mountain Ida to the hut of Anchises. She travels there. On the way, there are different kind of animals like lions, foxes, and others that accompany her, and also she with the strength of her powers, they have a sexual relationship with each other, all those animals. So when she comes to the hut of Anchises, Anchises saw her. Anchises suspects that his visitor is goddess because she is very beautiful, and in her whole life he had not seen any lady who is more beautiful than this one. So she inquires if she is mortal or immortal. She, in reply to his Anchises' questions, she replies that she is the daughter of Phrygian prince, king of Atreus. She is daughter of king of Atreus, and she is brought out by nymphs, and she is come here to marry with the Anchises, and so that she may give birth to his babies. When Anchises is confirmed that she is a mortal human being, she is also becomes a victim of her seduction, and takes her into her hut, his hut, and undresses her, and they both of them sleep on the bed and have sexual action. In line 43 to 167, persuasion and adultery is committed in these lines. Line 168 to 91, Anchises falls asleep, and when he is falling asleep, she gets up from the bed and changing her clothes, and now she uses her power and causes an epiphany to Anchises, and he suddenly realizes and looks onto the goddess in her true shape, and he is much horrified. Because he is horrified, he is much terrified because he thinks that now he will be punished. But the goddess consoles him by saying that he has whatever the wrong has been done, Anchises will not be harmed. In lines 191 to 99, she assumes Anchises that he will not be harmed. So he would feel relaxed about this. And then she describes about the godlike lineage of Anchises, that his forefathers were very noble people, they were very good people, and they were have the lineage that is very close to God, because one of his forefathers, Ganymede, was taken by Zeus to accompany him in different acts of in different activities of the Zeus, to help him in them. And his forefathers were Tithonus, which was taken by Eros, a goddess, and foolishly that goddess requests Zeus to make Tithonus immortal. But when Zeus does so, she does not request him, she does not say him that his age would remain same. Always he would be young. He does not request this thing. So Tithonus, by the passage of time, becomes very old, and old age becomes a kind of disease for him, and this state is very miserable. He dies in a very, he does not die, but he remains in a very pitiable condition for centuries. In lines 238 to 55, she talks about her fate and Anchises. She says that she is a goddess and she is immortal. She will not be dead, but Anchises would become dead on one day. And she tells him that she is going to give birth to his baby, whose name would be Aeneas. Aeneas would be the name of the child born of Aphrodite. So she describes about the future of Aeneas, and she says that she should be handed over to the nymphs, handed over to the nymphs in Ida, and must be brought about by the nymphs. And when he would young, he orders Anchises to take him straight to the Troy, so that he may rule there. So he tells the future of this child also, and then she warns, in the end she warns Anchises, the shepherd, not to tell anybody about what happened this night, that he slept with a goddess. Never tell this. So in this way this hymn closes. So students, in the part 2 of lecture 3 of Greek mythology, that was about the hymn to Aphrodite, introduction, we have had the summary and introduction of the poem. In the next lecture, lecture number 4, we would have a commentary and analysis of this hymn to Aphrodite.